everything. Now, most days, we don't even say goodnight. We just power down. Like two phones with dying batteries, sharing a charger, but never connecting. He'd roll over, back turned, already halfway into tomorrow. And I'd lay there, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was crazy or just lonely. I stopped wearing the lace he liked. Stopped lighting candles. Stopped checking my phone hoping for his name. And then, there was him. Not loud. Not charming. Just present in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. He'd watch. Not in a creepy way, no. But like someone noticing a painting no one else stopped to look at. I remember the first time it happened. He walked in while I was folding laundry. I was in an old t-shirt. Hair tied up. No makeup. And still, he looked. Not down. Not away. He just looked. And, for the first time in months, I felt real. Like I was there. I should have shut it down. Should have cleared my throat or called him out or walked away. But I didn't, because deep down, a part of me liked it. Liked being seen. Liked the attention. Liked the idea that someone still thought I was worth noticing. I told myself it was harmless. Just a look. Just a moment. Just curiosity. But it wasn't harmless. Not when you're starving for affection. Not when your heart's been running on empty for so long, you start mistaking danger for desire. And then he said it. One sentence. Barely above a whisper. I want to watch. I froze. Because somewhere in the quietest corner of my chest, I realized I wanted the same. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, because the stories we carry in silence are the ones we need to hear the most. I'm 36. And for the last 8 years, I've been a wife, a mother, a manager of routines, a keeper of peace. But somewhere along the line, I stopped being me. It's hard to tell exactly when it happened. Maybe the night he came home and went straight to the couch without a word. Or maybe the week he stopped touching me unless it was by accident. We used to be close. Not just physically, but emotionally. He used to notice if I changed my hair. He used to ask how my day went and actually listen. Now, most days, he comes in, nods, pours a drink, turns on the news, and disappears into the screen. I used to wait up for him. Now I just turn off the lights and climb into bed alone, even if he's sleeping right next to me. There's no yelling, no cheating, no big betrayal. Just a slow, quiet unraveling. Like thread coming loose in a sweater, one tug at a time. And then came him. He's 19. Moved in a few months ago because his college is nearby and we had the extra room. He's family, kind of. Close enough that no one questioned it. Distant enough that the boundaries felt unspoken. He's quiet. Keeps to himself mostly. But he watches everything, not in a judgmental way. Just observant. He'll be sitting in the corner of the room, and I'll feel his eyes before I even see him. Not staring, just present. Like he actually sees the things other people don't. I'd be wiping down the counter and look up to find him watching the way I hold the sponge. Or pouring coffee, and I'd feel him noticing the small shake in my hands I didn't know was there. He never flinched. Never turned away. And maybe that's what drew me in. Not his words. Not his looks. But his attention. Our house is beautiful. Clean. Well decorated. The kind of place people compliment when they walk through the door. But it doesn't feel lived in. It feels like a showroom. Everything in its place. But no warmth. No chaos. No soul. And that's what I became in it. Part of the furniture. Polished. Positioned. Quiet. I don't think anyone really noticed how hollow I felt. Not even me. Until he started noticing. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't dangerous. Not at first. It was the way he lingered in doorways. The way he remembered things I said days before. The way he never interrupted, but always seemed to be listening. And little by little, I started to look for him. Not on purpose. Just, when I walked into a room, I noticed if he was in it. And when he wasn't, Something felt missing. I didn't tell anyone. Of course I didn't. How do you explain a feeling you don't fully understand? All I knew was, in a house full of quiet, he was the only one who made me feel like I was still here. It was a Saturday. Late afternoon. The kind of heat that sticks to your skin, makes everything feel slower. I had the windows open, fans going. The house was still quiet in that specific weekend way. My husband was out, said he needed to run errands, which usually meant wandering around the hardware store just to get away. I was in the laundry room. The air smelled like detergent and sun-dried fabric. I had on this old, loose shirt. No bra. Hair thrown up. Sweat on my neck. Not dressed up. Not even trying. Just comfortable. Just invisible, the way I'd grown used to being. I was folding one of his towels, the boy's, and I felt it. That unmistakable awareness of being watched. I turned. And he was there. Standing in the doorway. He didn't say anything, didn't smile, didn't move. He just looked at me. And not in a casual, passing glance kind of way. It was intentional. Still. Focused. I should have pulled my shirt tighter. Should have looked away. Should have said something. But I didn't. I froze. And we just stood there. Him in the doorway. Me by the basket, towel still in my hands. Our eyes met. And neither of us looked away. It couldn't have been more than a few seconds, but it felt like minutes. Like the air between us thickened. Like something unspoken passed from him to me, and back again. Then I blinked. He stepped back. And he was gone. No words. No explanation. Just the sound of his footsteps disappearing down the hall. That night, we had dinner. The three of us. My husband was half checked out, as usual, scrolling through his phone between bites. I barely ate. And him, the boy. He didn't speak much either. But he didn't look at me. Not once. He kept his head down. Answered questions with short replies. Never met my eyes. And I noticed. Because now, I was watching him. After dinner, my husband turned on the TV. He called for him. Hey, come watch this with me. But he said he was tired. Said he had homework. Said he needed to be alone. And I watched him walk up the stairs. Not once turning back. Not once meeting my gaze. And that's when I knew. Something had shifted. Not just in him. But in me. Because I could still feel the weight of his stare. And worse. I missed it. I told myself it was nothing. Just a look. Just a strange moment on a hot afternoon. A glitch in the rhythm of an otherwise ordinary day. But something about it clung to me. Not the way he looked, but the way it made me feel. That night, when I got ready for bed, I caught my reflection in the mirror. Same body. Same face. But for the first time in a long time, I lingered. Tilted my head. Looked a little closer. And I wondered, would he look again? I felt ridiculous. Ashamed, even. This was someone half my age. Someone who wasn't mine to think about. Someone I had no business wanting attention from. But shame doesn't stop curiosity. And curiosity has a way of creeping in when no one else seems to notice you exist. My husband came home late that night. Smelled like whiskey and exhaustion. Didn't ask about dinner. Didn't say sorry. He pulled off his shoes with a grunt, crawled into bed fully clothed, and turned to face the wall. Not even a good night. Not even a glance. I lay there, wide awake, staring at the ceiling, and all I could think about was the way that boy had looked at me. Not touched me. Not spoken. Just seen me. The next morning, I got dressed a little slower. Not for my husband. Not even really for him. But for me. I put on a pair of shorts I hadn't worn in a while. Loose in the right places, snug in others. My shirt fell off one shoulder. Nothing dramatic. Just enough. I walked through the hallway where he usually sat with his laptop. I didn't look at him. But I felt it, that shift in the air when eyes follow you. Later, I made coffee and leaned on the counter, saying something small, something stupid. I guess the laundry room's hotter than I thought, I said. He looked up. Eyes held mine for just a second too long. There was no smirk, no flirt, just heat, stillness. I didn't know if I wanted him to touch me. I wasn't even sure I wanted him to say anything. I just wanted to feel awake again. Not numb, not gray. Every night, my husband came home later. More tired, more distant. Some nights, he didn't come home at all. Said he fell asleep at the office. Said he was working on something important. I stopped asking. And in that silence, my mind wandered. He wanted to watch. Those words echoed in my head when I brushed my hair, when I passed by mirrors, when I bent down to pick up something from the floor and wondered if he might be nearby. Guilt followed me like a shadow, but so did something else. Longing, not for touch, not even for love, but to be noticed. To be someone's moment of pause in a world that kept rushing past me. To feel like I mattered, even if only for a glance, even if only in secret. And every time I thought of his eyes, I remembered how warm I felt under them, how alive. And that scared me, because part of me didn't want it to stop, and another part didn't know how to make it. It was a Tuesday evening, the kind that stretches long and quiet, with nothing on the calendar and too much space between the walls. The living room was dim, just the soft glow of the TV screen bouncing shadows across the floor. I was watching something. I don't even remember what. Some movie I'd already seen. Just noise to fill the silence. He came in halfway through. Didn't say anything. Didn't ask if he could join. He just sat down. Far enough to be respectful. Close enough to feel. I could feel the heat from his side of the couch. The kind of quiet warmth that makes you aware of your own breathing. He didn't make a move. Didn't speak. Just sat. And I didn't tell him to leave. I should have. I should have stood up. Should have cleared my throat, made an excuse, drawn a line. But instead, I shifted. Just slightly. Crossed one leg over the other. Let the hem of my shorts rise a little higher. I told myself it was nothing. That it wasn't for him. But I knew better. The movie played on. He never looked directly at me. But I felt him watching. In the pauses between scenes. In the way he didn't shift away when I leaned just slightly closer. We sat like that until the credits rolled. Then he stood, said, "Good night," and walked away. No touch. No word out of place. But something in the air had changed. Like we'd crossed into something unnamed. Something waiting. The next morning, I came downstairs early. Before anyone else. I was pouring coffee when I saw the note. Just a torn piece of paper on the kitchen counter. One word written in his handwriting. Beautiful. No explanation. No signature. Just that. I stood there for a long time, holding it between my fingers. My heart thudding louder than it should have. It was stupid. A word. That's all it was. But I hadn't heard that word in years, not directed at me. Not from someone who meant it. I tucked it in my robe pocket before anyone came down. That day, I moved through the house differently. Every room felt charged. Every silence felt full. My husband didn't notice. Didn't ask why I was smiling quietly to myself. Didn't ask anything at all. He scrolled through his phone at dinner. Laughed at something no one else saw. Went to bed early. And I just watched him go, wondering how someone could live so close and feel so far. Later that week, I went to grab towels from the guest room. I wasn't thinking, or maybe I was. I opened the door without knocking. He was standing by the dresser, shirtless. His back was to me at first. Then he turned, slowly, carefully, and he didn't cover himself, didn't move to grab a shirt. He just looked at me, eyes steady, mouth still. Then he said it. "You knew I was in here." My breath caught, but I didn't flinch, didn't run, didn't explain, because he was right. I had known, and I didn't answer, because there was nothing left to say. I started dressing differently, not all at once. Little things. A neckline just a bit lower. Perfume I hadn't worn in years. lip gloss for no reason at all. I told myself it was about confidence, that I was doing it for me. But in the mirror, I wasn't looking at my reflection. I was imagining his eyes. I paid attention to when he was home, when he might walk past the kitchen, when he might be sitting at the table doing nothing in particular. And I made sure I was there too. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't deliberate. It was instinct. Like something had woken up inside me, something that had been sleeping for a long time. Then came that night. The storm rolled in fast. Thunder. Rain on the roof like drumbeats. The power went out around 9. And just like that, the house was swallowed in darkness. No internet. No lights. No distractions. My husband was already upstairs. Had mumbled something about being tired. Went to bed without even noticing the storm. I stayed downstairs. Lit a candle in the living room. Watched the flame flicker in the quiet. And then, I heard footsteps. I didn't turn. I knew it was him. He stepped into the room without saying a word. The soft glow of the candle lit half his face. The other half disappeared into the shadows. He didn't sit beside me. Didn't reach for anything. Just stood there, watching me. I looked up. Met his gaze. The silence between us stretched so thin it felt like it might tear. And then he said it. I don't want to touch you. I just want to see what he's stopped seeing. My breath caught. My hands trembled. I could have stood up. I could have blown out the candle and walked away. Gone upstairs. Slipped into bed beside the man who used to love me. But I didn't move. I didn't say a word. Because those words, I just want to see, they hit something deep. Something no one had touched in years. So I let him look. Not with hunger. Not with shame. But with that same stillness. That same quiet attention he'd shown me since the beginning. He sat on the edge of the couch. A few feet away. The candle flickering between us. I stayed where I was. Back straight. Hands in my lap. And we didn't speak. We didn't move. But everything crossed the line. My skin burned under his eyes. Not because he touched me, but because he didn't. Because in that moment, he saw all of me. The woman who'd been erased. The wife who'd been forgotten. The body that had been walked past for years like a piece of furniture. He didn't ask anything of me. Didn't demand. Didn't press. Just watched. Like I was art. Like I was something worth seeing. And for a moment, I believed it. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the power flickered back on. A pop. A hum. Lights returned. The world resumed. And I turned toward him. What I saw in his eyes wasn't lust. It wasn't pity. It was recognition. He saw me. All of me. And I saw myself. Not the wife. Not the mother. Not the woman who folds towels and bites her tongue and sleeps beside a man who forgets to kiss her goodnight. But the woman who once mattered. Who still did. The lights were on again. But something inside me stayed in that dark room. Still. Burning. Alive. After that night, everything changed, but nothing did. There were no confessions. No touches. No words spoken about what we shared in the candlelight. But the air between us was different now. Tense. Heavy. Fragile, like something already cracked and waiting to shatter. He started avoiding me. Wouldn't look at me when I entered a room. Didn't linger in the kitchen. Stopped watching movies in the living room. It was like he erased himself, or maybe I erased us. And me. I felt sick. Not from what happened, but from what didn't. From how much I wanted it and how close I let it come. Every glance I caught in the mirror felt like a betrayal. Not of my husband, but of myself. Of the version of me I thought I was. My husband started noticing things. Not the right things, but things. You've been quiet lately, he said one night. You okay? I nodded. Forced a smile. Said I was just tired. He accepted that. Of course he did. He always did. But I started flinching at little things. Laughter drifting down the hallway. His laugh, light and sudden, it startled me. I thought it was meant for me. But it never was. He barely stayed home anymore. Always out. At the library. At a friend's. Studying. He never said where exactly, just out. I didn't ask. The silence between us stretched further. Wider. And yet somehow louder. The house, once still and quiet, now pulsed with things unspoken. Every room echoed with the absence of something I couldn't name. And I went back to the rhythm. Woke up. Made coffee. Folded towels. Smiled when I needed to. Laughed when it made sense. Cooked dinner. Washed dishes. Slipped into bed beside a man who hadn't touched me in weeks. But inside, I was unraveling. Bit by bit. Moment by moment. One afternoon, I was cleaning the fridge. The door open, humming softly. And a photo. One of those magnet-clipped ones fell. It was the three of us. My husband in the middle. Me on one side. Him on the other. We were smiling. It looked like a happy photo. Like a family. But looking at it now, it felt like a lie. I picked it up. Held it in my hands longer than I should have. Then walked over to the drawer where we keep spare batteries and old receipts and slipped the photo inside. Closed it. Softly. I stood there for a while. Hand resting on the handle. Breathing. Pretending nothing happened. But knowing everything had. I asked myself the same question every night now. Was it cheating? Nothing happened. Not really. No lines crossed that you could point to and name. No kisses. No touches. No whispered promises in the dark. But something did happen. Something I can't explain. Something I can't undo. Was it worse because nothing happened? Or because everything did, without a single touch? I run that night over in my mind like a loop I can't break. His voice. That candlelight. The way he looked at me like I was still in here, under all the dust and silence and years. And I wonder, does it count as betrayal if it made me feel seen? Does it still make me wrong? If all I ever wanted was to matter to someone again? Because being invisible, it changes you. It hollows you out in places you didn't know could go empty. And he walked in at the exact moment I forgot what it felt like to be looked at like I meant something. Like I was beautiful without trying. Like I was alive. So I ask myself, is it worse to be wrong? Or to feel nothing at all? The house is quiet again. But it's not the same kind of quiet. It's not peaceful. It's haunted. By what wasn't said. By what almost happened. By what still might. I go through the motions. Smiling. Cooking. Answering questions with the right tone. But inside, I feel like a shadow of the woman I used to be. Half present. Half gone. Some mornings, I catch myself hoping he'll look again. Not touch. Not speak. Just look. Just let his eyes find me and remind me that I haven't disappeared. And I hate that. I hate that I missed something I never should have wanted. Hate that I ache for a glance like it's oxygen. I try to shake it. Try to remind myself who I am. What I promised. What I built. But when night falls and the world is still, that voice comes back. The one that whispers. He saw you. And for a moment, a small, shameful moment, I wish he would again. Have you ever almost done something? Not because you wanted to hurt someone. Not because you stopped loving them. But because you just wanted to feel again? To feel something other than forgotten. Other than invisible. Have you ever lingered a little too long in someone's gaze? Not to be desired, but to be noticed? Have you ever let someone watch? Just to remember what it felt like to be seen? Not touched. Not claimed. Just seen. Because sometimes, the loneliest place in the world is next to someone who stopped looking at you years ago. Drop your truth in the comments. Even if it hurts. Even if you've never said it out loud. And, if this story stirred something in you, subscribe to Heartfelt Tales Unfold. Because the next tale might echo a truth you've never dared to say aloud. Some affairs don't bloom in bedrooms. They bloom in glances. In silences. In the pauses between footsteps down a quiet hallway. He never touched me. Not once. But part of me still aches where he looked. Because there are places inside a woman that can be undone by nothing more than being seen. And the worst part? It wasn't just his fault. I let it happen. I welcomed it. I wanted it. I wanted to feel real again. Alive. Visible. And now, I can't unsee what I've become. He wanted to watch. And I wish the same.